Welcome to Monograph Matters. I'm talking today with Leslie Leve, author of the SRCD Monograph on Parenting in the Context of the Child, Genetic and Social Processes. This discussion focuses on the intersection between parenting strategies and child characteristics.
Leslie, the title of your monograph is Parenting in the Context of the Child. Can you give a good example of how the best parenting strategies may differ based on child characteristics?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. That's one of the things we're really interested in is how different parenting strategies might be more or less effective for some children, depending on the child characteristics. And what our design allowed us to do, because it's this adoption design where we have data from the adoptive families and from the birth families, we can look at qualities or characteristics in the birth families, birth parents, and see how they're associated with certain child characteristics. So in this study that I'll talk a little bit about, we measured a whole range of qualities in the birth parents, including a range of mental health qualities, their depression, anxiety symptoms, propensity for substance use or delinquency, put those together and looked at how that was related to children's behavior really early in toddlerhood. And when you see these associations between birth parents and kids when they're not living with their parents, you can infer that those are due to the things that aren't being caused by the environment, that aren't being caused by parenting. They're due to genetic or factors that are biological. So in this study, we looked at that, and then when kids were toddlers, we had them in the homes and did a cleanup task, a common task that families with toddlers do when you're asking your kids to put away toys. And from those interactions, we coded the adoptive parents, the adoptive mother's use of what we're calling structured parenting. So that's things like where the parent is guiding or providing structure and support, scaffolding for the child for how to clean up the toys. So it can be things like, where do you think this goes? Or look at the shape of that. Does that fit over here? And those kinds of behaviors were coded from our videos as structured parenting. And what we found in this study is that for kids who came from homes where their birth parents had more of these sort of mental health or challenges, symptoms, those kids really benefited from a high level of structured parenting. And in fact, those children had fewer behavior problems as a result. So you might then conclude, well, structured parenting, great, that's good for everybody. But we actually found just the opposite for kids who did not have this inherited quality from their birth parents, who came from homes where the birth parents were very mentally healthy, had few symptoms. Those kids actually looked worse, had more behavior problems when their parents used a high level of structured parenting. So that was in toddlerhood. And then we were able to actually follow our adopted kids over time, all the way in this study to age 8. And what we found is that this effect, this benefit of structured parenting for kids who might be at higher genetic risk because of their child characteristics, their birth parent, what they've inherited from their birth parents, those kids continued to show fewer behavioral problems all the way into school age 8. And similarly, those kids who in toddlers received this high level of structured parenting, but maybe didn't need it because of their genetic background, that it was a negative influence on their sustained behavior problems into school age.
Thank you. That's really interesting. So what is the best parenting strategy really depends on where the child is coming from to begin with.
Exactly. And we talk about this a little bit more in chapter 5, and I think it has a lot of implications for what we talk about later in the monograph in terms of intervention implications, right? It suggests that, maybe it's important to find out a little bit more about the child's background, their qualities, and modify the interventions that you're delivering as a result, because what we're showing here is that the same kind of parenting, structured parenting, is going to work really well for some kids and not so well for other children.
Read more about this topic in the monograph issue, Parenting in the Context of the Child, Genetic and Social Processes, by Reiss, Ganaban, Leve, Niederheiser, Shaw, and Natsuaki. If you liked this video, consider watching our Monograph Matters playlist. For additional resources related to this and other issues of the monographs of the Society for Research in Child Development, please visit monographmatters.srcd.org.